What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wednesday, June 21st edition of the MLB Sims video. This is a new video series that I just started this week, and I'm going to continue doing every day, Monday through Friday, walking through our DraftKings pre-contest simulator and looking at what's showing up early in the day. Obviously, this isn't going to be gospel. Lineups are going to come out. Ownership projections are going to change, all of that. But it does give us a chance to walk through the MLB Sims Tool, look at what you can do with it, and take an early look at how things are looking for tonight's slate. Tonight we have 6 games, and so we're going to go ahead and pull up the MLB Sims Tool for DraftKings. I already ran a sim. For this sim, I put in 2,000 lineups. All of those lineups were 5-2 stacks. That was really just to save time. If you're using the tool, I would recommend at least mixing in some 5-3, 5x type stacks when you do put in your lineups. You are trying to replicate the field a bit. Also, you obviously want to be putting in lineups that you actually want to play. So probably not putting in the garbage lineups that you think some people in the field will play. But overall, you are trying to replicate it. In addition to putting in 5-man stacks, I did download the CSV of our ownership projections. I took that, multiplied each ownership projection by 1.1, uploaded that into Fantasy Cruncher as an exposure cap. So the player exposures, the individual player exposures that across the lineups that I uploaded into the Sims tool should be pretty reflective of the field. And that is important because, again, the way this tool works is you're simulating these lineups against each other. You want to have a pretty good proxy of how the field is going to play in order to get good results in terms of what you should be playing against the field. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's what I did to get this sim going for this video. Now, we can take a look at the lineups here that are showing up at the top. At the top, we have a 5-man Dodgers stack, 2-man White Sox. The Dodgers are in a really tough spot tonight against Shohei Ohtani, but they're still the Dodgers. They're still a really high upside team. It's offset with the White Sox, who are currently first in stack score, going up against Martin Perez. So you have a low-owned Dodger stack with Betts, Outman, Smith, Peralta, Vargas. You're getting some more popular plays to round it out. Josh Naylor, one-off from Cleveland, who is a popular team tonight. And then the 2-man White Sox stack with Jimenez and Berger. Looking at the pitching, Michael Kopech is showing up here. He has a tough matchup against Texas, but he's one of the pitchers that we have projected to go the most under-owned in the pitchers tool. So you're getting leverage there. Garrett Whitlock has been pitching pretty well recently. In the top pitchers tool, we have him as the top one of the top value pitchers in terms of top 2 value percentage, but we also have him 4th in top 2 pitcher percentage. So we have him as a very good pitcher play, and he's actually only getting about 14% ownership as well. So he's somebody that we're going to like quite a bit. We have a Cleveland stack here, Cleveland 5-man. So that's going to be a pretty chalky 5-man stack. Ramirez, Rosario, Naylor, Bell, and Kwan. We are running it back with 2 Yankees, Harrison Bader and Gleyber Torres. Fernando Tatis one-off, obviously always a really strong play there. Again, we're going to what we consider to be 2 under-owned pitchers here in Kopech and Whitlock. And as far as the Yankees go in the top stacks tool, they are dead last in stack score going up against Luis Castillo, but only 1% aggregate ownership. So they are a team where they can be appealing. Not that they're going to come through very often, but when they do, it's putting you in a really good situation. And here we're using them. We don't need the whole team to come through. We have one of the most popular teams on the slate in Cleveland. We're balancing that out with some Yankees. Now we can take a look at individual player exposures. Michael Kopech coming in at 70%. Or in 70% of our lineups. If you were curious on the lineups I selected, I sorted by simulated ROI, used the quick favorite button, selected the top 150. Kopech is showing up a lot. Obviously, that is not it's not a good matchup. It's not something that we're going to be super comfortable with, but it is reflected in the top pitchers tool, where, as I mentioned before, we have Kopech 5th in top 2 pitcher percentage at about 19% at $9,400. We only have him projected for 10% ownership. So we do have him as one of the best leverage plays at pitcher. So it does make sense he's showing up. It is a shorter slate where you don't have as many low-owned pitching options that are still viable to get to. So this is a situation where Kopech's showing up a lot. If you're the one playing these lineups and you're like, look, I want to get to Kopech. I get that he's projected to go under-owned. He's showing up first by a lot in average simulated ROI for players, but I don't want 70% of him. You can go in, scroll down to the bottom of the lineups you selected, and just start, clicking off some Kopech ones, add the next ones up that don't have Kopech. You can, adjust your exposures that way within this tool, which is really helpful. But in those lineups, he did show up the most. Then we have Jose Ramirez second at 37%. This is another thing, I've mentioned it, I think, on both of the previous videos I've done. I do always look at the ownership coming into hitters. There's going to be some exceptions, smaller slates, Coors slates, spots where, for whatever reason, a hitter is, ridiculously underpriced. But typically, you're going to want to see or expect to see the highest owned hitters coming in around 30%. You have Ramirez a little above that, Jimenez right there, and then everybody else is at least a little bit below. And the reason is just, the volatility in baseball. That's typically how you're going to see things come in. So I do kind of just use that as a check where if Cleveland Cleveland as a whole is pulling the hitters are like 50, 60% owned, then I might have done something wrong in terms of the lineups I uploaded. Maybe I didn't get enough ownership in those lineups going to Cleveland, so they're all just getting forced to the top because in the simulation they're not uh, they're not popular enough, so they're going to look a lot better than they will in reality. So that is a thing I like to check. And here, again, it's working out pretty well. The only hitter really above 30% is Ramirez at 37%. Not too worried about that. He's clearly one of the better hitting options on the slate. In terms of stack exposures, Cleveland coming in very heavily, which, yes, they are chalky. Yes, they are a bad offense, but they have a decent matchup with Blackburn, who does do a good job limiting power, keeps the ball on the ground, but doesn't have great stuff. So small margin for error. They're second in stack score. 15% chance of being the top value stack is the second best on the slate other than Oakland. 9% chance of being the top stack is fifth best on the slate. So they do look like a really good team, even though they are getting 13.5% aggregate ownership. So makes sense that they are showing up a lot. And like I said, when we looked at the individual lineups, you do have some low owned teams as the secondary stacks in Cleveland 5-mans. That makes a lot of sense. And then also, again, using Kopech a lot. That's probably another reason that Kopech, that his individual player exposure is so high. He's a really good fit with those Cleveland stacks because of the lack of ownership coming into him. Next, we have the White Sox, who are first in stack score, coming in at 10%. Minnesota and Oakland both coming in between 8 and 9%. In stack score, Minnesota is fifth. Oakland is fourth. So the Sims tool is giving us, pretty much what you would expect. The lineups do a good job of balancing out low-owned, relatively low probability plays with your more popular, more likely to succeed plays, and you're getting to the stacks that we think are the best, looking at the rest of our data. So, as I've said before, the really powerful thing with the Sims tool is that it's combining everything that we talk about. It's taking projections, it's taking ownership, it's taking, top stack percentage, all of that, and it's combining it and showing you exactly what your most effective path to making money is. So really powerful tool that combines all of those different things that we talk about. That's all that I have for you on today's slate. Hopefully you enjoyed the walkthrough. Thanks for checking out the video. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be links below for you to sign up for this tool so you can use it on your own. Take advantage of it. If you're watching on Twitter, I will post a link right below the video. But that's all I have for you. Good luck on your lineups, and thanks for checking out the video.